Hi, I'm Belinda Fenty.
And I'm Pauline Nakiria.
Welcome to Let's React podcast, the show where we dive into the world of entertainment.
Yeah, we'll share our experiences, the highs, the lows, and everything in between.
Join us every week as we bring you stories, industry insights, and captivating conversations.
Let's React podcast, where the spotlight shines on our stories and the magic of Black British talent.
Hello and welcome back to Let's React podcast. So I'm with my co-host, the beautiful
Pauline Nakiria.
Woo! And I have also invited a lovely friend of mine,
Kumbi Mushambi, or if you're going to pronounce it like I am from Zimbabwe, Kumbi Mushambi.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Kumbi is one of the kindest souls you will ever meet. We met doing an acting class together a few years ago, and he's been in my life ever since. As your friend, he's just so giving and so supportive. So yeah.
Can you tell that I'm blushing down the microphone? Thank you very much.
It's true. You can see the plushness in the cheekbones. That's when you know a Black person is blushing.
Kumbi has chosen to pursue his dream of acting in London relatively recently compared to like me and Pauline. And he is smashing it. And hopefully he's going to tell us a little bit about his journey a bit later. Over to you, Pauline.
That's my intro. There you go, Kumbi. No, honestly, amazing to have you with us. Thank you for taking the time. Appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me. It's really nice to be here.
Belinda said you came into the game at this point in your life. Can you tell us what changed and what got you to change direction?
So I grew up with a passion for acting. Growing up in Zimbabwe, as I did, I didn't think or didn't see that there was much of an avenue to pursue it professionally. Mm-hmm. So I came over to the UK after I finished my A-levels. And despite the fact that, the UK is pretty much a playground for whatever it is, anyone chooses to do as an adult, I somehow retained that focus on get a proper job. I don't know if this was something that was left over from my upbringing and the way my parents raised me, or at least what expectations that they were placed on me. But I came here, even though I had complete freedom to do whatever I wanted as an 18-year-old, who gets that. And I still chose to go to university, and I ended up with a BSc Honours, thank you very much, in Business Information Technology. So I entered the corporate world and was kind of trundling along quite happily. And there was, even though I had this job and even though I was trying to, be a responsible adult in that regard, there was always something niggling at the back of my mind that, you used to love acting, but I did not listen to that voice. And it was only, I think it was in 2008, I was at a leaving dinner for a friend of mine who was also originally from Zim. He'd come here for a few years and then he was relocating back.
Okay.
To somebody, a mutual friend, her name is Sharon. And I cannot tell you, the joy that she had that was there for her seeing me, number one, was incredible. It was like, Kumbi, oh my God, I haven't seen you since whenever it was.
Wow.
There was just such joy. Even I was a bit taken aback.
Wow.
And then, in that whole sort of spiel was like, are you still acting? Oh my God, you used to be so good. You used to love acting. Are you still acting? And it kind of hit me like, no, I'm not. And oh my God, I didn't realize that what I wanted for myself so deeply, other people saw it as well, and had a reaction to it in that way. So I went home, probably put it to the back of my mind again, because, this was a Friday night and I was thinking, okay, I've got the weekend, I've got my laundry, I've got my cleaning, and then Monday morning back to work, the hustle. But Saturday morning, my girlfriend at the time kind of said to me, that Sharon, what's this about acting? You've never mentioned acting before. And, we kind of had that conversation. So I told her, when I was in high school, I used to love doing the plays. We did, was Joseph and His Amazing Technical Dream.
Wow.
Weird Sisters, was an adaptation of a Terry Pratchett book, and so on and so on. I just loved being in that space. And then there was a repertory company in Zimbabwe, in Harare, called Reps Theatre, and I used to go to classes every Friday evening after school. I used to beg my parents, please, can I go? And all of that just died, when I came over, until I met Sharon.
Wow.
Thank you, Sharon.
Yeah. The world thanks you for your services.
After that was the beginning of the slow journey back into the acting space. I started signing up to classes. I mean, from that point, I didn't do anything for probably another 3 years. And then maybe 2010, 2011, that's when I started signing up to classes and then re-immersing myself in that space. I did a few classes. I joined a little theatre company. We did a couple of plays, and that was amazing. This is probably the mid-teens, early 20s maybe. And my takeaway from that was a very, very positive review on a website for my performance in that play. Somebody else was also given their flowers as well for their performance. But seeing my name as Kumbi did an amazing job as, whatever character I was playing at the time, it kind of affirmed for me, you're on the right track. Wherever you end up, whatever you do, even if it's just a hobby that you do every so often and you jump on a little stage, or whether you pursue it and it becomes a career and you're able to make a living out of it, don't lose this. Because, what you are doing is being noticed and you're doing a good job.
Can you describe that feeling of seeing that review? And
pride, but a little bit of embarrassment, if I'm being honest. Embarrassment in the sense that I thought everyone did an amazing job. And despite the fact that sometimes I can be very, very outgoing, depending on the situation, I am also a little bit reserved. So sometimes when the focus is on me, I kind of shy away from it a little bit. So it was a mix of those two emotions. I absolutely was buzzing at seeing my name, for something that I'd done so well. But at the same time, I was like, I want to give the rest of you guys the same accolades. I don't want it to just be me because it was a team effort.
It's so modest, isn't it?
Yeah. All of the sort of self-help, self-development stuff says, you do not need external validation. Do not, do not fall into that. But actually, we cannot deny that it feels good. It feels energizing. I mean, we're human. Not only external validation, but it does feel good.
Absolutely, for me, and especially on this journey, kind of going up for roles, even being on set. I'm not going to say I need to be told that I'm doing a good job, but I never want to be the weak link. So, in that process, because on one level, you're going to be immortalized on film forever. If it's a TV show or a commercial or a movie or something, and I don't want to be the person who people are looking at saying, "Oh God, that was terrible." So on some level, having your peers or having somebody come along and say, actually you smashed it. It lifts you up for the next take or even for the next job. Amazing. Because on some level, it lets you know, you are doing this.
Yeah.
Having said that, a director would probably not kind of say cut and then move on if they didn't think that they got what they needed from you as an actor. So
absolutely, trust.
There are two sides. On the one hand, it helps an individual internally process how well they are doing. But at the same time, if the director has that degree of attention to detail, they would see how you're doing, be okay with it if it's what they need, and just say, move on. So you don't necessarily need to hear the verbalization of how well.
Yeah. What is it that you love about acting?
I remember having quite an overactive imagination as a kid. I am the youngest of 3 boys in my family, and my brothers, bless them, absolutely love them to bits, but we were slightly obviously different in ages, 3-year gap between the 3 of us. So whilst I was closer to the brother who precedes me, at any point in time growing up, we were probably slightly different places. So for the most part, I ended up sort of spending a lot of time by myself. We lived on a farm in the outskirts of Harare, the capital. So I didn't have a lot of my school friends around me, and my brothers were slightly different ages, even though we did, in the younger years, play together. Yeah. So I think as I went into my teens, I probably, evenings, weekends, school holidays, to some degree, find ways of entertaining myself, whether it was imagining I was, James Bond or I don't know, an action hero of that era. What do you have? Van Damme, Stallone, Schwarzenegger, whatever. Old Bruce Lee films. You just imagine
Chuck
yourself
Norris.
doing that movie. Exactly. So that was probably the start of what I enjoyed about it, is acting out this scenario, being the hero in my own story. And that never went away. That never goes away. And then part of it is also watching the TV shows. And when you're in a country that is so far removed from where these stories are taking place. Yeah. You want so desperately to be in that space, to be in the room where it happens, quote Hamilton. And now being here is like, oh my God, I'm actually so close to it. I wanted to be the person, who's making those dreams that I had as a little boy come to life.
Yeah.
You do see how difficult it is to make it in this space. But as I said earlier on, for me, wherever I end up on this journey, whatever the destination is, I have an idea. Obviously, everyone does. But I think I'm accepting of the fact that it may not come to pass. So let me just do my best.
Okay.
Give 100% for each and every role that I get. And wherever I end up, wherever this journey takes me, enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
And the ride for me right now is kind of, getting into those scenarios where I can portray a character who either is very similar to me or very different to me, but I can explore, I can play, I can enjoy, and see what happens.
Great. So you love the imaginative element and playing and exploring different characters.
100%. Yeah, I think that probably lies at the core of what I enjoy the most is, the playfulness, the exploration, the different characters you can portray.
Speaking of that, and when you think of now the characters, obviously now that you're in the West and the options that you see out there in terms of character and story, when you approach a character, do you see as just that character, or do you think about like the race of the character in a way? Do you ever think about that?
Pausing because I'm thinking about your question and also applying it to what I've done so far. To some degree, I do think about all of that, but I'll be honest and say that comes secondary to the work that I do right in front of me in terms of, what is my motivation? What are my emotions? What am I trying to achieve? And all of that good stuff that we do when we have a script and we get our pen and paper and we sit down in a room and we try and focus on, this is my scene. What am I getting out of this scene? And I trust some of the things that are there that cannot necessarily be changed. Like the fact that when you watch the scene, you are going to see a black man. So I don't necessarily need to lean into more of I am who I am.
I'm laughing because, exactly. You're like, oh no, I'm not. How do you act like a black man?
Exactly. Like my job on that day is to, I don't know, arrest somebody. I'm not necessarily going to spend too much time thinking about, okay, so how would I arrest this person? But no, my job is to arrest them. What are my lines? Am I starting off friendly, or do I come in aggressive and follow the journey, etc., etc.? But within that, I also leave a little bit unprepared because on the day, the director may have a different vision for me. So if I go all in my preparation and I think, right, okay, whether it's about the script or whether it's about my background and how I bring my culture into it, I leave a little bit because I had a job recently. Yay. And the way in which we were asked to perform the scene that I was in was very different by the end compared to how it was at the beginning. And a lot of it had to do with how I entered the scene, because basically I was actually, portraying a police officer, and my role was to apprehend an individual, or at least walk up to them and stop an altercation from happening. So fair enough, a lot of this had to do with the physicality of that introduction rather than the way in which I actually spoke. But if I'd come in sort of like saying, right, I'm going to come in all guns blazing and I'm going to stick to that because that's what I've prepared. I am not open to change. So as much as I do prepare, I still leave a little bit for the director to kind of mold me into what they want to see.
Totally.
That's a good tip. Yeah,
I think so too. And you also want to leave room for listening too, right? Like, because if your co-star says a line in a certain way, your response is automatically, hopefully, going to be different if you're listening.
Yeah, which from that class we had, Belinda, that was pretty much what it was all about. Is what is it? Speak, receive, respond, or something. That three word sort of method of working. You speak your line with your intention. The other person hears it, internalizes it, and responds accordingly. Almost naturally. And so you leave room for that, whether it's from the director or, as you say, from your co-stars.
Amazing. So you're focusing on the character and what you can bring to that character, and then working with the director and setting the scene and doing that and allowing for yourself to get into the scene and see what others around you are doing. So reacting to your environment as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
I bizarrely was actually reading an article about Jessica Alba, or at least I saw a story that I remember reading some time ago. She was in one of those two of those Fantastic Four films, and if I'm not mistaken, this is one of the things that caused her to kind of take a little bit of a step back from acting. The director, in one scene where she was crying, said, "I need you to cry more pretty." Because you're a beautiful woman and it's crying. I need you to cry more pretty.
No, this hurts.
So you kind of think about that as a person of color, and you kind of hope to yourself, I hope I never get asked to do something more black.
That would. Do you know what? That resonates. I feel like I've heard this before. That's basically been what they've been asking, especially in inverted commas, well-spoken person, which is always nonsense, right? They want
be
you
a
to
bit
be
more
more
African.
Yeah, exactly. And often what they mean by being more black is not a positive.
Yeah, I always asked, what do you mean?
Good, yeah, that's what I would.
Because it's like, what you think that I think is not the same thing, because I don't see myself the way you see me or think you see me. So I always, I remember asking, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And there was a lot of, just because, and I was like, no, I just need you to tell me exactly how that transcends the journey of this character, how that fits in so I can then do but I don't understand what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
And
exactly.
I remember we just moved on from that.
It assumes that being black is a monolith, but yeah.
Yeah, so while that example may not necessarily directly correlate to the conversation we're having, it kind of highlights the fact that sometimes people put emphasis on a certain thing because, in their mind, that's what they want to see. But the question then becomes, is it really important that you focus on this thing? Like, let me focus on being the best, again, police officer, or God forbid, a stereotype like this, drug dealer or whatever. So let me focus on that. And then you will see, like, is my skin color necessarily something that you have to kind of push?
Yeah.
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 Just let me focus on the character. My skin color is my skin color. You're going to see it. You can't miss it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on navigating race in the industry? Yeah. Or what? Yeah.
I'll be honest. I've listened to earlier episodes of the pod. I've listened to other people experience it, through some of the documentaries that speak about, I guess, the Black experience, particularly in the entertainment industry. And considering where I am in my journey, it kind of feels weird saying this. I don't think I have a story to tell. About myself at this point. So I don't know if that is either good fortune or if it is that unawareness that I would like to think, based on my recollection of the people I've met, the experiences that I've had, I would like to think that thus far it has been an overwhelmingly positive experience. Part of it is, as was said just a few moments ago, when we get onto a set, sometimes we kind of look around and see who are the people in the room, whether it's cast or crew. And on some level, we kind of gravitate towards those people who are familiar to us because it's safe.
Yeah.
It's not to say that we immediately think, I don't trust, the non-Black people, whatever race they may be. It's just we are in a generally, I suppose, unfamiliar space. And until we know who everyone is, we gravitate to what we do find familiar. It's kind of like the way that, we as Black people might be walking down the road. This is definitely true for Black men. I'm not sure how true it is for Black women. But if I'm walking down the road and I see another Black man, never seen him before in my life, don't know who he is from Adam, we'll nod. It's an acknowledgement because I see you, and he'll nod back, and then we carry on. We may not speak, but we'll just have that moment. It's that sort of sense of finding a commonality on set that we immediately look for. And that, at least in the first instances, carries me through the first day, the second day. And then as I get to know more people, then my sense of comfort around the general crew begins to expand.
Yeah. Nice.
And that to some degree has carried me through a lot of the work. And then, of course, I'll be honest enough to say that for me, when it comes to getting to a point where I ever have that thought, I think I've just had somebody be racist towards me. The threshold for me has to be super, super high.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just other people may immediately go to that space, but I would probably go through a whole range of internal dialogues or conversations with myself about, wait, maybe they're just having a bad day. Maybe it's not about this thing, it's about something else, or maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Maybe there is usually an explanation that lies from between the immediate shock of, okay, what the hell just happened, and saying, okay, that was based on my background or my color or my culture or whatever. There are so many things in between that that I could probably explain it away before I get to the point of saying, no, that was messed up.
So it sounds like we're talking about sort of direct racism, but do you have any experience of microaggressions or the systemic racism? So in that, Pauline and I have spoken about how characters, particularly in the past, tended to be extremely stereotyped. Like all the roles that had Black typically wanted someone in a gang or low socioeconomic status. You know, and those days where we saw any ethnicity, it was really rare. A lot of the roles said Caucasian, Caucasian, Caucasian. So then we would leap at anything that said any ethnicity. So these are like the sort of experiences of racism that we're talking about that go beyond the direct racism that it seems to be that you're talking about. And I was just wondering what your experience is.
Again, probably my original answer was probably reflective of both scenarios. I kind of went down a tangent of talking about one aspect of it, the more direct. In terms of the microaggressions, I, again, would probably go back to thus far, probably not. That I have picked up on and noticed.
No, that's a good, honestly, that's a good thing.
There are situations on set where you kind of like, okay, that person is stressed, or okay, you know, they don't like the way I acted that scene. And it's not microaggression towards me on the basis of, it's just in the moment, something's not working and they need to fix it, but we don't have time. So I'm just going to be direct. I'm going to say it like it is, and then we're going to move on. Those sorts of things. But I think, Pauline, you may have kind of intimated this a bit earlier on. I think for me, forgive me if I'm mistaken, but I think even if that were to happen, I would probably recognize it way after the fact.
Yeah.
And then once I recognized it, when I'm home, I'd probably talk to my partner or talk to another actor or something and just be like, you know what, it happened. I probably can't do anything about it. So let me just release it into the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And, you know, because at that point, there'd probably be a little bit of relief in there. Like, okay, it's not because I was crap. It's because they have a problem. And then I let it go.
It's them with the problem.
If that were the case, I would like to think that that's how I would react. But of course, it would just be something that I would recognize after the fact. Because in that moment, I'd probably be thinking there is a legitimate reason for this. Kind of making excuse for what that is. But then on my way home, I'd probably be internalizing it quite a lot. And then I may come to the realization, actually, there was something messed up there. But it's done.
Yeah. I mean, that's okay too, because like the last couple of years, especially after lockdown, you know, one of the positives that came out of lockdown is people recognizing like their behaviors or other people's behaviors. And like I've said before, like, you know, even on Twitter, when people started that thing of, oh, you've got great skin. I always thought I had great skin. Yeah. And, you know, like slowly people are starting to realize, oh, maybe that was a microaggression. You know what I mean? And so a lot of people have started working on that and improve that, which is amazing to see. And I'm glad that your experience of it, or you've not yet, or haven't, you know, and I hope that continues.
Absolutely.
Honestly. That's what we want.
It's either that I've been very fortunate or I'm just oblivious. I'm going to give myself room to say that I'm just not seeing it because when I'm in that space, I just want to focus on what I'm there to do and just do the best job I can. And
although we're not just talking about in the space though, we're talking about receiving auditions, we're talking about combing through castings, we're talking about, do you know what I mean? It's not just on set. Are there any stories that you would like to see being told that are not yet out there?
Well, yes. So,
period.
Are there any stories? Yes, they are. No, we have in this country at least a wealth of Black history that hasn't been told, perhaps in a mainstream way. We probably have, you know, little independent films, or we have references to people in shows like, for example, Mary Seacole. I think there was a version of her in one of the last Doctor Who's.
Yes,
you know,
I remember that.
Where is the Marcus Garvey movie? Where is the Windrush movie?
Oh man, that's so true.
Where are these stories that allow people to see the positive? And you know, even if it's not positive, but where are these stories that allow people to see the richness, the diversity, the variation within Blackness in this country?
Celebrating those people.
Right. Or at least interrogating. You know, showing that they are layers. I commend Shonda Rhimes for Charlotte, Queen Charlotte.
We mentioned her in every episode. We just love
you, Shonda.
And, you know, like huge and absolutely massive props to India Amatifo, because that performance was incredible.
So good. She was Queen Charlotte.
Yes, she was Queen Charlotte in the show. And I think she actually embodied a young Queen Charlotte in such an amazing way. But, you know, even if it was not the embodiment of, you know, the character we know from the first 2 seasons, her in her own right in that show was amazing. And her as a version of the real Queen Charlotte was so important to tell. Because, you know, I, for example, had accepted that even though there are very few spaces in which I should not be considered for a role, there are probably still some. And a story like Downton Abbey is probably one where I'm not going to expect a call because of the story of its time, of what it's trying to show, the characters it's got in it. It's not a story for me. And then you see something like, you know, Queen Charlotte, original story. I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm just like, I should be there.
Yeah. And I love that Queen Charlotte as well showed how the two cultures became, like, what if, it's kind of like how High Castle is for what if the Nazis won? What if these cultures just suddenly just mixed? What would that world be like? And you're right, it just makes you then see the possibilities of being in a period drama compared to Downton Abbey. I think the black characters that were in that were musicians. And then, you know what I mean?
Kumbi, can you answer your own question? So you were like, where is this story? Where is this story? Where is this story? Yeah, where are these stories? Why aren't they? Why are we not seeing them yet? Where are they? What can we do to change it?
That's a multi-layered. Well, the answer is, I guess, multi-layered. I haven't spent too much time kind of thinking about this because it speaks to certain levels of, I guess, power and decision-making that are far above my own head. So, for example, the studios that decide on which stories to tell, if that's even a thing in that way, decisions are made about what story can we tell, or what script can we go for, or where are we going to put the money? And it's not going to those stories because, for whatever reason, somebody somewhere in a room thinks, people are not going to be interested in this.
You say for whatever reason. What reasons? Because we've spoken about this. I'm like, am I leading you up the alley? I'm like, admit that there's systemic racism. Admit it. Admit we need more diverse people in control. Admit it.
We do need more diversity across the board. I think you touched on this last week, and I kind of wrote that because obviously I was thinking about this. That representation and that support and that direction at all levels is required, whether it's producers, agents, MUAs, casting directors. Got them on set as the sort of the runners and everyone else, but we need it higher up. We need it across the board. And whether it's somebody who has the means to take a chance and invest in a story. Yeah. Because I'm sure there's scripts out there, but there isn't any backing for that. Yeah. Like, you were kind enough to invite me onto this podcast, and at the time, having listened to it, I kind of felt or knew that there was going to be a question that would touch on, the richness of talent that we have. A few years ago, you probably named, the black actors on one hand.
Yes.
Years ago. We've got a few names here, and this is a subset. Chiwetel Ejiofor, John Boyega, Idris Elba, Lenny James, Naomi Harris, Tandiwe Newton, Lucian Msamati, who's a very good friend of mine, Aziz Chipo Chung, Ajoa Ando, Adrian Lester, David Haywood, Michaela Cole, Damson Idris, Ugumbata Raw, Antonia Thomas, Freema Agyeman, Reggae Jean-Paul, India Amatifehu, Daniel Kalua, Nicholas Pinnock, Samuel Adewumi, Nicole Lecky, Arinze Kene, Butigatwa. Just as many.
It's like music.
The point of mentioning those names is, again, to just highlight there is such a richness and a depth and a range of talent in this country. There are so many others. Yes. So there aren't enough stories at the moment that allow for those people to really go out and show their range and their talent. Like, I didn't mention Asher D, for example, Ashley Walters. Yeah. Can he do the same thing that Adrian Lester can do? Can Adrian Lester do what Ashley Walters does in the same way? No. So why can't we have enough stories for Ashley or for Adrian, for David, for Antonia,
for Kumbi, for Pauline, for Belinda,
and for the people coming up, and,
exactly,
like the whole gamut of talent that is available? I don't think there is enough stories. So however it comes about, I just genuinely think, and this is not to the exception of the stories that are being told or where we are being allowed to share our talents. This is in addition to because we are only getting a small part to play on a massive canvas where everyone should be able to to share their talent and their stories.
It's like a 0.05%.
Black Panther is one of the very, very few stories that relates to black people that we get excited about. Out of the plethora of films that come out in any given year, then we have a problem. So whether it's an independent film or whether it's a main studio release, I think there just needs to be a concerted effort to allow the talent that we have. It would just be great to kind of see more stories about us, or where we play a prominent role, the different characters to express themselves for the enjoyment of others and for us to see ourselves. To like believe, okay, I can do that. Part of that answer, for me is to say that there are films where I look at and I'm like, I don't know. As in, I don't know, like if I went up for this role, I would get it. I would be believable.
Oh, yeah.
The world changed so much, you now can see. And this was another actor I was going to name, and I apologize to him profusely if he ever listens to this because I've forgotten your name, but he was the managing director in the BBC show The Split over the last 2-3 years. And he was also just recently in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Nigerian actor.
We can look him up, we've got time.
You got time?
Yeah. We love a Google. Don't worry.
A few years ago, would you have realistically expected to see a gay black managing director of a law firm, even if he was not necessarily the lead character, but portraying that character in a recurring or a significant way? I'm not sure, but now you can. Why? Because that is the reality of the world we live in.
Love it.
So is that Chukwudi?
Yes.
Iwuji.
So the point being, the films that are made, TV shows that are made, need to reflect the reality of the world we live in.
Yeah.
And at the moment, I'm not entirely sure that that's a fair reflection.
It's really
and
not.
Even if it's not about the world we live in, it's also about if you can make multiple stories about Elizabethan England.
Yeah.
Then why can't you make a historical film about the black experience in this?
Totally.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of, as well, of repetition of the different films that they've already done, the stories they've already told. They just keep recycling those stories, yet there's growth to actually showcase these other stories.
Yeah.
And so, like, I feel like even doing like a shout out and just starting a thing where I just collect all the black stories out there and just start sending them to studios, to the production companies, to be like, these are scripts that, we have like the Windrush, when we did the Windrush Film Festival and seeing all these films and these filmmakers, and we were like, just like, oh my God, like there's so much out there that, needs a lot. Yes, exactly. So honestly, I think that's my next challenge.
Totally.
As I like to find things to do.
I am all the way here for it.
Great.
And to anyone who may be looking to cast me in film, again, I have that is not in place of existing stories.
Go on.
But in
Shout out. Go on.
I've already played 5 police officers. I want to play a 6th one. I want to be a sidekick in the next group of films. But
yeah. And like it's not even just race, is it? Like we want to see all the sexualities. We want to see. I want to see more disabilities. So many people have disabilities, and we never see them on screen. Like rarely. It's like, come on. If 1 in 10 of us have some sort of like, come on, like it's infuriating. What is this?
No, definitely.
TV film world that doesn't include the people?
And I think to a certain degree, this is perhaps where America has been sort of making a change, slow as it may be. Because again, 20, 30 years ago, every single actor on a TV show would be so beautiful.
Yeah,
so
true.
Beautiful. And the UK was known for character actors because they didn't have six packs. Whereas now you kind of are getting that sort of variation, at least a little bit more in American TV, whereas the UK has been doing it for a little while. But Belinda, as you rightly say, this isn't just an issue that affects Black people. It's an issue that affects a whole range of people, and it's something that I think is really, really important.
And the full global majority. There's more, in inverted commas, Black stories than there are like Asian stories. I just don't see. Yeah. Got some work to do. The world.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to be a part of that work, and this is why, and it is very, very much in the embryonic stages. But this is why I'm trying to work on a short film myself that kind of hopefully, because there's still a lot of work to be done on it, speaks to that conversation about of race in the UK.
Beautiful. We love it. People doing stuff.
Yes.
You promised us, Kumbi, that you would give us a Morgan Freeman impression. So just go on, give us a sentence.
No, I said for the next one.
No, go on. Just one line.
I don't do impressions.
Okay, lies. All right, never mind.
Overpromise, underdeliver. I'm so sorry.
So this is now a promise that he'll have to do it next time. You have time to practice it. I will give you 1 second.
Exactly. You've heard it here, folks. It's cemented in this podcast. Till next time.
I will promise, I promise on camera in front of these two, co-hosts of this podcast that I will do some version of a Morgan Freeman impression the next time I'm on the podcast.
Okay, I'm going to edit that in, and leave it in there so
people wait.
And then write in the description, promises made.
I am not saying it'll be any good. We'll do one, though.
And then do an episode of Promises Made. So.
Oh my God.
Yes. Thank you for the content, Kumbi. Thank you.
I'm just really giving you guys ideas for episodes. So like, how much? What kind of a cut am I getting?
All about sharing and supporting and caring. So yeah.
And plus, when you get police officer roll 6 because someone listened to the show and heard you, that's your payoff.
Hey.
Shout out.
And that's not the song.
No, thanks. Karen has not called. Or has she?
What book or film or show or play or anything that you would recommend to our listeners?
Okay, so books. If you have children, and this is honestly a shameless plug, my sister-in-law has written about 2 or 3 books that are aimed at children, which serve, I suppose, as an introduction to a little bit of Zimbabwean culture. So they are the stories of 2 kids, Naniso and Shinga, and they chart the adventures they have and the people they meet, and some of the experiences they have in Zimbabwe, especially as kids who grew up in the diaspora.
Okay.
So I would recommend those books.
Amazing.
Please send us the links. I'll put them in the description as well.
I will certainly furnish the links for that. Keeping it, close to home. This is a book called Rotten Row by an author called Petina Gapa. And I think any book that starts off with the line, "It is just after 9 o'clock in the morning. Giza will die in exactly 43 minutes and 13 seconds.
Wow.
Any book that starts that way has got to be read.
Yeah.
But on a serious note, Petina is sort of like one of our preeminent Zimbabwean authors. There are others, absolutely, but I just happened to pick this one to share with you. So I would wholeheartedly recommend it. TV shows, it's very difficult to recommend this because I guess, everything's really about individual taste. So TV shows and films, I'm probably going to sort of stay away from but because I think the reason I say that, and I think there is a little bit of a serious reason, and this is something that I'm trying to change about myself. We are oversaturated with stuff to watch, and I'm seeing this in my own house, especially with the kids and stuff, and I want to get back to reading. I genuinely want to find more books to read, partly because books are where a lot of stories that end up on TV start anyway, so why not just go to the source material and read the book? So
what? No more Baby Shark?
I personally would be happy if I never had to hear that song ever. But I suffer for the kids. No Baby Shark for me. I think books, they are getting overlooked a lot more because everything is on screens nowadays. So I hope you appreciate that. I'm probably not going to go down the book or film route. I'm just going to stick to books, and
that's
there's something for the kids. There's something for the adults.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. Honestly, I appreciate it. But he did mention Queen Charlotte.
Good point. We caught him.
No, it's good that you're recommending books. It's not just about, like you said. We also do shout out audiobooks. So
totally.
Definitely reading.
Yeah.
May I ask you guys a question in return before we shout? And this may or may not make final cut, but I'm genuinely curious.
It will. Go on.
Maybe.
And I think, Belinda, you may not be able to answer this unless something's changed. What did you think of Hamilton, the musical, the play? And I'm asking this in the context that what you see on stage is a story told by Black actors, for the most part, but it is very much a white story. Have you perhaps had any thoughts about that? Because I think I don't know what my conclusion is, but that has been in my mind.
I've still not watched it, so I leave this to Pauline.
I absolutely love the play.
Come and give us your unpopular opinion. I actually, it's so funny because last week I was talking to 2 friends of mine about Hamilton, and one of them watched it for the first time and she loved it, and then she was like, "Oh my god, why did I not know about this?" And I just went, I just think it's meh. That's my unpopular opinion.
I love it.
Not
bold.
because I appreciate that, obviously, especially I remember the time when they were going to start casting it for the West End over here, and it just meant there's a lot more, a few friends of mine who are musicians, so they got to be seen, they got to be, it was a job opportunity and everything, and casting-wise, amazing, great, whatever. I just think in terms of context and with the way it is written, I didn't enjoy it as much, and I love hip-hop, and I just thought that I didn't like it. Unpopular opinion episode, yeah.
I like that. Write that down quick.
And honestly, we can have you back. Yeah, honestly, yeah.
Totally.
I'm sure I've got a couple of unpopular opinions myself.
Yeah, no, honestly, but yeah.
Where I was saying books probably aren't given as much of a place compared to, TV and stuff. I think the theatre is probably, in a similar space to that. So if it were ever to come back, and if he were ever to grace the stage in the UK again in this performance, Death of a Salesman with Wendell Pierce.
It was wonderful, yeah.
We actually got to meet him very briefly afterwards. Siri.
That was wonderful, wasn't it? Yeah.
But yeah, Death of a Salesman with Wendell Pierce I think I was blown away, and that's probably one of the few times I've literally been singing.
Yeah, I Sharon D. Clark, I had a tear in my eye as she sung that.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I heard that was really good because I remember when he was doing it, he was tweeting about it, and I remember following his tweets, and it was amazing and everyone was saying how amazing it was. Was it the same show where he kept getting interrupted?
In New York, yes.
Yeah,
recently.
New York.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, what?
I don't know, Kumbi, if you know, he got interrupted by an audience member. I think they were talking or doing something.
Yeah.
There's a video online, someone filmed it, and Wendell Pierce just literally just stopped, and they were so disruptive. I think they were a bit of drink. I think they had a drink, and so they were just disrupting the performance, and then the woman said shouting.
Yes.
And
it was unbelievable. I would have been mortified.
And I'm gonna have to see if I can find this clip.
Yeah, and I think she asked for her money back or something like that, and he was like,
yeah, he said, we'll give you your money back. Bye.
We'll give you your money back. Just leave, go. And then she left, everyone started clapping.
Then you gotta get back into it then after that.
Yeah, but that was funny. I remember that bit about that. But yeah, no, I heard he was really good. No, he's one of those actors who's also underrated.
Hugely so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Treme, he was amazing. So it's just like one of those, and even in Jack Ryan, he's great.
And such a nice person, like meeting him, so humble, so warm.
Yeah.
He actually thought he knew me, which was, it had me questioning myself. I was like, wait, have we worked together before? And then I was like, no, I would remember. I had to say, no, I think you have me mixed up with something else.
No, you should have said, no, I think it's for the upcoming thing we're doing together. Yeah, we did.
Exactly.
If I was on my A game that night, I probably would have winged it, tried to get like the details for the producer or something, and then got myself onto the.
Why not?
Yeah, I was playing it too honest because I was a little starstruck, especially after watching that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll send you the photos that we took, Pauline.
Yeah.
I know sometimes they record stuff to be shown on TV or on the website or something, so maybe this would be one of them that they'll show some point down the line.
I hope they recorded it, yeah. That's a nice new thing that they say doing for theatre as well. Yeah. Live recordings for online. You don't pay as much, but it's just nice, especially for people who can't make it down.
Who can't get to the theatre, yeah.
But no, thank you so much, Kumbi.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
you are very welcome. It was really, really great to be here.
It's been fascinating. We are so intimidating.
No, you did great, and honestly, we'll definitely have you back.
Oh, thank you so much.
Especially when we do the unpopular opinion episode.
Absolutely,
and it's going to become a segment of the show now. No, we'll definitely do a special on that. But no, thank you so much, Kumbi, for coming on to this. And I'm looking forward to hearing about your, that short film, your future projects as well. So please.
I will certainly keep you in the loop about that. And, I very much appreciate you guys having me on the podcast. Thank you very, very much. I enjoy listening to it. So, looking forward to hearing this episode and how you get it.
And that was our amazing Kumbi. Oh, honestly, it was such a great interview, wasn't it, Belinda?
It was so great to have a different perspective. Hear a new voice.
Yes, and also hearing it's how different his journey has been, especially starting out. And it is changing, isn't it? It is changing. So that's the hope and that's the plan.
Definitely, yeah. It's left me with quite a nice, positive, hopeful feeling.
Yeah, and we want more. So honestly, anyone who's got a story, a play, a film, whatever, please email it to us. And I think that's definitely something I'm going to do. Just get all these stories together and just start pushing them out to people. Yo. So please share your work. Show your work.
Get in touch if you want to come on our show.
Yes.
We're interested in your story. It doesn't matter what stage of your career you're at. Come talk to us.
Definitely. And but we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining, folks.
Bye.
Bye.